Well, anyway, the big day is here.
Yes, sir.
The big day is here. We have Gas on the line with me now. Hopefully there's new people out here listening. We don't know if you're in the room or not, but you might be in the general listening audience. A couple easy things to remember. If you want to get questions into the show, you can email me here at DTRS at daytradingradio.com. You can send in a tweet at Daytrading Radio. I guess that's at Daytrading Radio. And you want to...
Let's start, all right?
Yep.
Okay. I was looking at the your site full screen, and I think if the viewers all go to full screen, they'll have a lot better detail. I don't have to zoom in so much.
Okay.
If members have trouble seeing what I'm talking about, hit me over the head and I'll zoom in. It obviously slows you down a bit.
Okay. So, do you want me to? How are we going to?
Right now, I'm showing my ES chart.
And how are you showing this? Through Skype?
No, through Procaster.
Oh my God.
I'm broadcasting the show from my.
Oh, I got you. Gotcha. Good. I understand totally now.
Okay,
right.
So this is the ES, and it's actually live money being traded, and it went long there. It's a 1 minute chart. It went long there at 55.75 at 8:27 p.m. So 3 minutes before we're supposedly going to start our show, and we'll see what it does. Did I lose you?
No, I'm just shutting down everything on my side, so there's no interruptions or anything.
Okay.
But I'm here, and everything seems to be working good. So we're on your trade. You have your platform up, and you're using
right.
What charting? Let's go back. Trade Station chart.
So I'm 100% Trade Station. I get my data. I trade through it, as well as run my automation.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna go off the ES over here, and I'm gonna move on to a strategy I've had running for 5 years. Now it's not taking real trades, however, it's been running in real data. So going forward, I haven't touched this thing in years. It just keeps running and running. So what you see at the bottom of the screen is the indicators that I've created, so I don't have to go to the performance report all the time. What I want to do is point out what these are so you can see them graphically. At the bottom of the screen, and I will zoom in a bit on that. First thing is called the number of positions. In this case, it's taken 244 trades over the life of the data series. Currently, it's long 400 shares. If it was short, it'd be red. The current cost basis, I'm going to slide over here to the right, is $37,000. This is almost $90+ stock, so 400 shares. And then my current open profit and loss is this red histogram. It's currently minus $320. And,
all right.
3 sessions ago I was down over 1,200.
Okay.
Finally, this lowest one, it's kind of scrunched down, but it's a total return on the strategy, and it's $46,810 over the full length of the data.
All right, and you said this is on a stock?
Stericycle, or stericycling, as you
know.
All
right, yeah. Your favorite. All right, so this is trading this, and you had this this indicator, or actually this automated strategy working for how long? What was the time period?
Well, this data goes. I'll show you, and this is a very important concept when you set up your strategies. You don't want to have a rolling period. So when I do format symbol, the first date should be set. It shouldn't be so many days back or months back or years back, because what happens is you lose a whole day of data every time the day rolls over, which totally changes the trades. So you want to start it at a fixed point and move forward in time.
Gotcha.
So you want first date set. All right, this is a 15-minute intraday chart, and I'm going to show particularly those new what you're seeing on the screen. What we see here is it bought 200 shares there at 3:15 on the 8th of 07, and it sold just after the open with a trailing stop exit. Now, what is a trailing stop exit? A trailing stop exit is an exit whereby you've made a certain minimum profit and then the computer keeps track of how much that profit slips away if it goes against you. And once you've given up a certain percentage, it says, fine, I'm out, and it throws a market order in. And that way it preserves your, at least a portion of your gain.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Gas, if I could jump in for a second.
Yep.
We got a lot of people probably out here listening for the first time. Are you going to go into, and what I love always is, you know, the really the base, what do you need to do this? Do you want, or we're going to cover that later? Or,
yeah, I mean, let me sort of step through it, and you know, once I get farther in, John, you know, stop me and, you know, clarify. But what I want to do first is just show people what they're seeing on the screen.
Okay. All right.
We're going to go to the code, and then I'm going to show you some settings.
All right.
All right.
Good.
All right. So then, you know, what it did, it traded the next day, trailed out the following session. So that was a 2-day trade. Made one trade the next session, took a long and made a trade, and then it went through the night and closed out the next day. So, you know, it really started off well here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see right now it's only up about $400, right?
Yep.
But it's only, you know, at this point in time it's made, you know, well, the histogram's so small because, you know, it's just in the early stages. But you can see this thing march along, and it's not a long-only strategy. You can see it took a short here, another short here. But when you look at this as a 15-minute chart, this is you know, a week and a half of trading here. So you need to understand that when you're looking at strategies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to know the time frame. You know. Okay.
I got to heat. Can you heat me up a little bit, or am I maxed on your end?
Oh, well, you're broadcasting, so.
Okay, so I'll heat me up a little bit. Is that a little better? Yeah, clipping out. There we go. How's that? That sounds good. All right, let me try that. Let me know, Lear. All right. Anyways, so let's look at the strategy performance report, and we'll see things in there that will. I'll highlight these now. So what this does is it looks at all the profit. Now, I had a second strategy, which I'm going to add back in, but this is just running a simple momentum strategy, and I'll show you the code on that in a second. But what you see here in this report is your net profit over the time period. All right? You see what the open position is. It's down $218 at the moment.
Current position.
Right? It's made 147 trades, 97 of which were long,
strategy
and 50
alert.
were short.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been interrupted by a little message here. Let me show you this real quick. So what this is an order filled notice. So I sold the ES that I had bought just before the show started, right? It tells me how many I filled, which was 1. I have none left. It tells me my price. And then over here I have a strategy filled order. It tells me which workspace it's in and what was the signal. In this case, it's a profit target. And it tells me what account and also what interval.
Nice. All right. This is the first time seeing that.
Yeah. So I will tell you the bot is trying to get long again, and we'll see if it fills. But let's move on. We may get interrupted by more trades like that.
Now, when you look at your chart, do you see the that area being taken on the chart? Does it put a little hash mark in there or something?
Yeah, I'll flip over to that for a second.
All right.
So basically, you see that long was taken back here. Now, this being a 1-minute chart, that looks like about a 15-minute trade.
Okay.
And it kept touching it. See that red line, John, is the length of that order was persistent there.
Yep.
So as soon as it took it, the next bar it tried
Order canceled.
That actual bar, it went ahead and put that order out there, and it's taken that time to fill. Now, if you notice, there was a blue line down here a second ago, and the bot was trying to get long. Well, now the bot reevaluated things based on the price action, and now it says, no, I'd rather short. So now it's trying to short 57 even.
Okay, nice.
All right. It's kind of fun to be interrupted by a profit, though.
And this is an ES trade, as you can see.
Right. And, you know, I will tell people out there, you know, automated strategies are hairy enough on equities. You know, doing them on futures is, you know, it really gets you puckered. So, but probably not the best place to start. But anyways, we're talking about this strategy here, right? Now, you can also delve into this and get an idea how it behaves, all right? The average winning trade was a little under $200. You can see it broke it down by long and short. The average losing trade was 73, but there were only 2 losing trades in this strategy out of almost 150.
Wow.
Right? So the profit factor, which you like to see over 2, and this one is 187. And then there's a thing called the Rhino Index, which is a proprietary thing. That's 82, so that's not bad, but you'll see it even gets stronger in some other strategies I'm going to show you. All right, so once again, we're trading this thing for over 5 years. Time in the market, 98%. So it really is in the market all the time. So you're going to have ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the longest flat period was just 2 days out of 5 years. So it's in the market, right?
Yeah. This is amazing when you look back at it, you know. When you see something like this, you know, and I know some of them you have active and some of them you don't have active. You know, you just, you know, let it work out, and it's, you know, you're testing it out and stuff. But at what point do you just let this thing run?
When you have enough capital.
Yeah.
You know,
so how much? I mean, this is one strategy, and you're not buying anything big. You have multiple strategies always going, but this is one strategy in particular that's maybe taking a max 1 or 2 trades.
Well,
contracts.
What it's set to do, and I'll show you that in the actual strategy. I go to the actual chart and do format strategies, and I'm gonna slide it over here to where I'm broadcasting, and you'll see actually what's running on here. And I have the strategy called momentum weight. I'll explain that in a minute. It has some inputs, and then we can see here that it's has buy ability and short sell ability. There's no sell code in there, and there's no buy to cover code. So this is purely an entry strategy. So you have to pair this with some exit strategy. In this case, I've paired it with percent trailing, which I'll speak about shortly. All right, and I also have another thing I'm going to turn on in a minute, and I'll show you how that works. But I wanted to just start with this simple strategy. Okay. So, momentum weight. Let's look at that real quick, and it covers some real basics. I can just go over here and say, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to properties for all. All right, so this will determine behavior of the strategies, and what I tell it is fixed shares or contracts 200. So you could put it in the code, or you can leave it out of the code and then change it here. Right?
Yep.
And then you want to set a certain commission amount. Otherwise, particularly if something that trades a lot, you'd find that you would get too optimistic results because there's no cost of trading. So in TradeStation, it's a penny a share. And then for slippage, I put it in 3 cents. Now, when you fill limit orders, there's no slippage. But it does have trailing stops, so I need to put some slippage in there.
Yeah.
And you could do inside bar back testing, which is probably more important on a 1 or minute chart or something ultra fast like that. But for a 15-minute chart, it just slows down the optimizations. So
yeah.
Let's go to the code, John, and we'll obviously I can stop and cover a lot of things at each point. But let me go ahead and didn't want to close that. So go to format strategies, and what I'm going to check on over here is edit easy language.
All right, and then just to touch base on that for a second, this language is easy language, meaning it's a programming language. I mean, just like any other programming language, like C# or whatever people use out there. And this is its own language, and that's a whole different show altogether. But this is a language that works on TradeStation. It works on multi-charts.
Yeah, they're actually talking about it in the members room that this looks a lot like multi-charts. Well, multi-charts was originally a product to be a bells and whistles add-on to TradeStation. Then they got big enough where they started to want to develop their own platform. So there's a lot of similarities because they one grew up basically as a sibling, and now they're becoming more peers.
Yeah. So you're showing us the first piece of code here.
Yep.
And break this down. What is this code for? What is this?
This is an entry-only strategy. It's called momentum weight. All right.
All right.
And the real trick is that it's when here, let's look at the buy thing, all right? When the momentum becomes positive and the acceleration becomes positive, so in other words, not only is the momentum, turning upward, it's also accelerating upward, then you would want to go long at the high plus 1 point stop.
Okay.
So what you're doing there is you're saying, okay, we've turned up. Strategies are always evaluated at the close of a bar. So at that point in time at the close of the bar, it has certain values available. Median price, low, open, close. So in this case, we're using close, and we're putting 1 point stop above it, meaning we want to see it tick above, make a new high, and then it goes in as a market order.
Okay. How do you measure in the momentum? Yeah, I see you code that in.
Well, momentum by itself is built-in. Momentum is a function that is in the easy language dictionary, or what they call reserve words.
Okay.
And it's an actual function. If you want to see how they do it, you highlight it, right-click it, and you can say either show me the definition of momentum.
Okay.
And then a pop-up screen comes, and you can see all the explanation of it, right? And then if you want to see the actual function, you can right-click it and say open the actual function.
Nice.
Right? And see, momentum is just a built-in. It's calculated at the server side, if you will.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm sorry, not at the server side. I want to say it's like addition. Open the function for addition. Well, we all know what addition is. Well, momentum has the same type of characteristic. We all know what it means, right?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, what we're doing is we're looking at the momentum is the momentum of the price over the length. So that unfortunately puts some delay in there. The longer you look back, the more delay there is. And then the momentum is the acceleration, is the momentum of the momentum looking back 2 bars. So it's a 2-bar acceleration. I put that in squigglies, or whatever the brackets you want to call those. Brackets are easy language code that's not calculated, so you're allowed to put notes in for yourself.
Okay.
All right? Now, what I was noticing, John, is that some of these strategies would get taken out, let's say, on a trailing stop. Well, obviously, market conditions started to deteriorate there, and basically, I was seeing these strategies getting in too soon. In other words, not letting the cycle complete. So then, what I said was, well, why don't I do this? Why don't I create something called a X bars, which is simply a waiting period. In other words, once you get taken out of a trade, you have to wait a certain number of bars before you can get back in. Now, because it's an input, you see it here as 6. It's something that you can test by optimizing. You could test from 1 up to 25 and see what works best for that particular instrument or symbol. But if you just say to the code, all right, that if the total trades is greater than 0, in other words, you've already made a trade, and the bar since exit, which is also a reserve word, 1 trade ago, is greater than X bars. In other words, it's weighted, right? Because it actually counts the number of bars since the close of the last trade, right?
Yep.
And it goes long. But you still have to have the first trade in, because otherwise you'd never take a trade, because the bars since exit would always be 0 for the very first trade. So all I did was say here, if total trades is 0, and it meets either the go long criteria or the go short criteria, it takes that first trade.
Gotcha. All right.
Which basically becomes less material, because generally what you do is look back a certain period. So those trades, are basically just historical by nature anyway, so the first trade isn't important. But this is a very simple strategy showing coding. And basically what you want to notice is that there's inputs, which are things that you as the user can actually change, and you can also test and optimize, meaning testing different inputs. And then there's things called variables, which are basically placeholders for certain calculations, and the user doesn't have any access to that. In this case, momentum and acceleration are calculated within the code.
Yep.
All right, simple enough?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So let's do this. Let's close this down temporarily. Let's go back to this I'm going to scrunch it down and let you see some of these trades over periods and give you an idea of time here on these. Now this is truly a swing strategy. You see how here it's taken 6 or 7 to get this short close, and then it takes another trade, another trade. Look at this long trade here. So really, in essence, these trades take time for this particular strategy. But basically, what I like about Stericycle is that it's going up from left to right in the chart. In other words, it started trading it in the 50s, and now it's in the 90s. Stericycle tends to be one when they beat it down, it will come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're in a stock that just gets murdered, and you're long, well, if you don't have a stop loss in there, you don't have an exit.
Yeah.
And believe me, the computer can get you in a hole just as quickly as you can do it manually. So what I was trying to do with this is to try and see if I could improve my results by adding a second entry. So let me turn that on, and I'm going to go to Format Strategies, and I have something called Ladder Deluxe, which is actually, that code's been sitting out in the members area for the last 3 months. And we'll go ahead and turn that on. And I'm going to do this now. I'm going to go back to the performance report, and we're going to see if it made a difference. So we made 150 trades with just the momentum weight on, right? So now we got 27 roughly in profit. So by closing this down over here, you can't see, it's off screen. I've now added it. Now it's recalculated itself. I turned that 27 into 47, and I made about another 100 more trades or so.
Nice. And that was what you added, was another strategy?
It's another strategy. It's a secondary entry.
A secondary entry. So we're talking another contract, or you're still
200 shares in this case. Yeah.
Excuse me.
200 shares.
200 shares.
Right.
So each. All right. So this is an Stericycle. All right. I got you.
All right. So what you have to do for that is you have to go to Properties for All, and you have to allow more positions when the order is generated by a different entry order. So this allows you to have one primary position and then trade underneath it, if you will. So what it does is it allows you to make some extra money while you're waiting for your primary position to work out. And you can see it did it here on the very first or the second session. It got long here, it fell enough to meet the criteria, and it added there. And what you find is interesting, I'll drill down a little bit on this for you. The second entry actually closed before the first entry closed. So this extra money, you were able to make use of that dip.
Yeah.
And you see it even better here over here. You took a position one day, and then the next day, almost at the low of the day, it took another position. And then once again, it got out with a trailing stop, and then find the primary fill for a trailing stop. Now, what you have to understand is, John, once you're long in this first position, you can't short until you go back to, market position is 0, at least the way the code's written.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm showing you some examples. Here's another good example. We got long here, got a little profit going, and that shows up in our, down here in our, where is it? You can see here, see how we had a big red histogram? This is all negative, and then boom, it fills, and you're out. Here we got a little bit of a green blip up, but then, and it filled, so it went back to 0. But here we got long, we're up a little bit, and then it started to go against us. Well, it kept going against us, but then look at that, we added to it, then we got a nice gap up, not the next session, but the session afterwards. We closed both positions.
These look really nice. Have you tested? I mean, these are working mostly. Both short and long positions are taken. What is the ratio on that?
Well, let's go back to the performance report.
And do you have when you backtest some strategies, do you ever get the results that are totally negative and you're down $27,000?
Well, yeah. When I get to the optimization thing, I'll talk about that for a minute. Just hang on. But you asked about the ratio.
Yeah.
Now here, it took many more trades long than it did short. You say, well, gee, that's odd. Well, not really, considering the fact that the stock has gone from 50 at the beginning of the period up to almost 100.
Yep. So 170 versus 81. All right.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so one thing I want to show you, the performance graphs. And this is a, it's a double-edged sword. I didn't want to show that first, but I will show this. All right, what this is, John, is every time the strategy makes a new high, it paints a green ball. So if you look at this, going from trade number 0, look at that beautiful. Now we're up 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, right?
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
So your question must be, why aren't I on my yacht off the coast of, Costa Rica fishing or something?
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, when you break this down, this is the allure of the performance reports. You say, this is beautiful, man. It's just steady. It's right up. Well, they have something called a detailed equity curve line. Now you really see what the actual performance is over time, and that's what's important, not trades.
Yeah.
So you see, it was really hot in the very beginning. It made $20,000 in, let's see, it starts at September of 07. And by the time you get to November of 08, so like 14 months, you're up 20 grand. So that would have been a beautiful strategy to run in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's reasonable, considering what you invested. You almost doubled your money. So here's the problem, though. From here, November, all the way through to June of 10, all right, almost 2 years, it did nothing.
Yeah.
You don't see that on the other graph. The other graph looks perfect. Now then it got hot again. It got from 20 up to over 30. Then look at that. It lost about, I don't know, $800. Then it took off again. So strategies will do that, particularly on equities.
I gotcha. Well, it's impressive. It definitely looks nice. So do you have do you find it more suitable to trade the equities with these, or the futures? It doesn't make a difference?
Well, I'm going to show you something that day traders could make use of as far as an equity strategy. We'll do that in a minute. I just wanted to cover some basics here.
Yep.
I'm not seeing a lot of questions from the members, so
Yeah. Take a question. I'm gonna just get a glass of water. Just.
Okay. Okay.
There we go. Just talk. I'm here. I'm just
Strategy alert.
Okay, so we had a little notice here. Oh, it's one of my nursery bots. Took a profit. Close this down. John back here in a second. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you guys. I want to show you the code for the ladder.
Order canceled.
I hear him coming back.
coming back.
All right, so while you were gone, I had a strategy notification here. I see it took a profit target on a short there on the ES.
That just come up?
Yep. And I know it's in the workspace called Nursery.
Oh.
Aren't you going to ask me what's in the nursery?
Yeah, I want to know what's in the nursery.
The baby bots, the brand
Strategy
new ones.
alert.
Oh, nice, nice.
I have two baby bots in there. They're very active, especially in a busy market. They're almost annoying, so I sometimes have to go in and silence them.
So I mean, you have these great codes. They're working out. Everyone's on. It's like, wow, all right. How long did it take you to learn the language? If I even wasn't familiar with easy language, is this something that a listener or a member could do, or is it something that you need some help on?
Well, my approach to it was I like to come up with a puzzle. Come up with something I want to solve, and then I go solve it, and I learn it that way. There are people that will read books and books and become experts at easy language, and I'm by no means an absolute expert. But in any event, self-taught thing for me has been, I have a task, I go solve it, and by that I learn from that.
Yeah.
And I also have a benefit where I had a coding partner, very bright, one of the smartest human beings I know that, was also a good resource for me. And by the way, if you need help with specific coding issues, there is help desk for Easy Language itself. They kind of get bombarded, so like I had a call the other day about a simple question, and the guy got back to me, I don't know, the next day and sent me some suggestions in an email. It was very nice service. I asked him how much it was going to cost. He says, "No, we're just here to support our clients." I thought that was great. And I asked him the question. I said, "Well, gee, what if I called you up and said, hey, I want to trade off, lower trend lines when it's Wednesday and the markets are going up?" Well, he says, "Well, what we do there is we send them some sample code, and if that doesn't work, then we direct them to people that actually pay for the service of actually writing their code."
Yeah.
So they're not there to create a whole new holy grail code for you,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're very helpful.
So, from that point, you said you've been doing this, been really learning from day one, kind of self-taught, learning the ropes for the last 7 years.
Well, I mean, when I was working full-time when I first started this, I had to run a lot more automated stuff because I wasn't around. Once I got to the point where I had more time in front of the computer, I kind of let it go by the wayside. So I can't really say I've been working it 7 years, but at least 3 or 4.
All right, yeah. Well, we'll just say that you had a good start on it. So
I just want to show you this, and just to demonstrate to the viewers that it can get actually fairly involved. And this is the ladder. This is where you add the other cases, the other positions. I'm sorry, once it's gone against you, and it will add in both directions. By the way, it'll add the shorts and it will add the longs. But what it does, it actually uses the Bollinger Bands to trade off of.
Yep.
And it has a percent jump in there. In other words, the stock has to fall a certain percent before it'll actually go. And then what it does is, and the reason it's called ladder is, it can actually add, once, twice, up to 5 times in the same direction if you allow it to.
yeah.
So basically, you can have the original position and then 5 more. So for a total of 6 entry points. And then each one is treated separately by the trailing stop or profit target, whatever you're going to use.
Now, we're looking at right now is the code. This is, what strategy is this?
This is the ladder deluxe, I call it.
A ladder deluxe. Did this come out? Is this the one that just triggered, or we were just looking at before?
No, this is what's running on Stericycle.
All right, good. Yeah,
right?
Ladder deluxe. I want to break it down a little bit more, I guess. I mean,
So, that's
I know
okay.
I know you have a definite way of approaching this stuff, but all this good stuff in front of me, it looks so enticing. I love the type of stuff like this. It's like put me in a garage with robot parts, and I'll try to build a robot. What would you say for the people out there who want to start this? Like last week, we set up my chart on my multi-charts with my van car, and he kind of installed this strategy on my platform. So, I mean, what are the basic steps to get to, before you even get to this point, to do this? And at this point, what is the simplest code that you could teach? The simplest one, just to see it work, Well,
that's why I put momentum weight out there.
Yeah.
That's a very simple code. All it says is, when the momentum is positive, get long. Which works great in a nice trending market. In other words, you buy at the low when the thing's turning over.
Yeah.
And you can do stochastic crosses. You can say when the fast crosses over the slow. So by definition, it's down there at 20. Get long.
Yeah.
And there's 100 ways to get long, but once again, it's I've probably written 500 different strategies, John. So, I mean, are there many ways to do it? Yeah, many.
Yeah, there's many ways.
But let me just try and show you something else that will show you a lot of the functionality of what you can do with the Easy Language code. All right?
Okay. Yep.
All right, so let's get out of this. Go back over to here. You're going to find this really cool, actually. All right, so Format strategies. By the way, unless you turn on a strategy, you can't format it. It's sort of a safety feature. What's the point of changing the inputs if the strategy's off?
Okay.
So I'm going to come to this chart. Now let's say we're in the trading day, all right? And you're used to taking your entries by hand, all right?
Yeah.
I created this, it's called Insta Long or Insta Short.
Nice.
In other words, I have the ability to get long in the market or to get short, depending on which one I turn on, right?
Yep.
Now, all you would do if we had a real open market, which this is Apple, we don't. All I would do is turn this on by hitting status and say close. And based on how I set it up, and I'll show you that in a second, the very next bar it would be trying to get in and get in long.
Yep.
All right? If you turned on Insta Short, it would try and get you short.
Yep.
Now what's the advantage of that? Well, the advantage of that is you've already preset your exits.
Okay.
And it can, and in this case, it has a profit target and it has the ability to trail out once you've made a certain minimum profit. So you could literally, John, say I want to be long Apple, turn that on, and then just minimize it and don't think about it again.
Yeah.
And the thing will actually, try and get your profit target. If it doesn't, and you have enough profit, you could put a stop loss in there. You wouldn't have to even look at it again. You could go on to something else. If you're trying to trade the futures, or whether you're looking for other stocks or broadcasting a show, for example, you wouldn't have to actually monitor the thing. Let's look at some of the settings. So what we have is price, which is close, and then the position basis has to do with the trailing stop. That needs to be false. Now the floor amount is the minimum amount you want to get out of it, and for Apple 0.5 works well. And then what the trailing percent is, in this case 15%. Then you also have a profit target, which is $2.03 per share, and that's to cover the commission and the SEC fees. So ultimately it's $100 per share.
Okay.
There's also ability, John, to trade it at a limit price. And the way I wrote it is, if you go and say, okay, I see Apple's now at 644, I want to buy it at 644.
Strategy alert.
Right?
Yep.
If you actually put that number in there, it turns off the market orders, and then it will buy basically 644. Right?
Yep.
Now, let's say it gaps down horribly. It says, I don't know, 638. Well, you're not going to pay 644 when your market hits, because the brokers know enough to say, well, if the bid and ask is well below your limit, we'll just go ahead and fill you at the lowest ask price out there. So what you're really saying with a limit order is, I'm willing to buy Apple whenever my trigger goes off at any price less than my limit price.
Gotcha.
Or at my limit price. Now, this also has the ability to have for secondary entries, how much you want the price to change. In other words, in this case, drop before you go back in, which is good because you want to buy at the lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a shave percent, and that's actually how much it's going to try and get it a little extra out of it based on the previous bar. So it's trying to lowball just by a little bit. It also has that wait bar function where it waits. In this case, it's a 1 minute chart, so it's going to wait 10 minutes before it goes back in. A lot of times, something like Apple that moves around a lot, if you got taken out, a lot of times it'll drift back down again. And it's good you waited 10 bars and not went back at it right away.
Mm.
Here on trade limit, you can tell it how many times you want it to trade. I'll set it at 3 just for demonstration. All right.
Okay.
Then there's a thing I built in called time limit, where it says if the time gets to a certain point, let's say 2:30, you don't want to take any more Apple positions. So you put 1340 in there, and if it's in a position, it won't get out, but it won't take any new positions once 1430 hits.
Gotcha.
And then there's a thing called market orders, where if that's true, then and the limit price is back at 0, it'll add that. Now, if the market orders is false and the limit price is 0, then it becomes a shaving strategy, where it's trying to get slightly better fills than it would if it went market. Now, because this is a live strategy and would only work in live situation, there was no way to backtest it. So I had to build in duplicate orders and have this input here called backtesting, which I'm going to set to true. And then I can go ahead and actually backtest this strategy and see how it would work, right?
Yeah.
So today's the 16th, right?
17th.
Okay. So let's say we turn this thing on at the open. So the way easy language works, it's basically 1 plus the 12, which stands for 2012. It's September 16th, which was what, yesterday? All right, and I actually put in brackets there the format in case you forget. So now let's see what this thing does.
So you're going to backtest it right now.
Okay, now right away we see it made money. See how
Strategy
down here in the lower
alert.
right,
Yeah.
the strategy equity bounced up? Let's see how it did it.
It's not the clearest, but I see it's green. Or, well, I see something up there.
Okay, so actually this went back to September. I forgot we were October, excuse me. But see how it bought here? See that
Yeah.
buy?
Yep.
Let me,
That has really gone sideways for a while there.
yeah, well, don't forget this is a 1 minute chart.
1 minute chart, yeah.
Now, why am I on a 1 minute chart? Because there's nothing in this strategy that depends on indicators.
Right.
It's all price action. So you want to be on a rapid chart so that it can take action quicker.
Yeah.
You know, why wait 15 minutes if you know you want to get long? Because once repeating myself, strategies only evaluate the close of a bar. So this way, within a minute, you're already trying to get in. So as it went along there, and then see what happened? It got its profit target, but it took all day. Now it used up one of the 3 trades we gave it. So the next day it tried to go, and see how as a scalper it got way down here? Because what it kept doing, it was waiting for a small gap down. And you got it there at the, 9:45. You got enough of a gap down to fill it. And then see how beautifully Apple bounced back up?
Yeah, no, that's nice. What do you have a standard on all your strategies? You have a standard stop that works the best, or how do you work your stops on
Well,
those?
what I like to have is a dual situation where I have a profit target of some sort in case I get a nice, flush or a climax run or whatever. And then I also like to have a trailing stop with a decent floor so that, the hardest thing to do, and we know this from just hand trading equities, is to pick the perfect exit, right? Let's say we're looking for $1.50, and we've all seen this. It gets to $1.48, and then it falls away on us, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you use a trailing stop with a floor of, let's say, $1.30, now if it gets to 148, doesn't quite get your profit target, at least you're going to get out somewhere around, 125 or something. You're going to preserve some profits with the trailing stop. So anyways, now it's allowed a third trade. And you can see beautifully how that wait period helped, because see, had you gone right back in, you'd be buying higher up in here somewhere. So letting it come down and then see that scalp, that amount that had to fall, so you're able to grab it there. Obviously it would have been better to wait, another 15 minutes, or excuse me, in this case 5 minutes, but hindsight is 20/20. And that one got its profit target there. So it took 3 sessions, but it got out. Now let's change that date to the month I should have been. Should have been saying 10 here. Okay, now I'll scroll over.
Now all this back end stuff is really on TradeStation.
Ask it a different way.
Will I see those same tables and stuff on my multi-charts? Or is that easy language stuff?
When you say tables,
Well, your input boxes, your formulas, your
yes, that's all similar. It's different, slightly different arrangement. I mean, they can't duplicate it entirely because I guess there'd be some copyright issues.
Yeah.
But functionally, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are some differences in how the optimization engines calculate the trailing stop, so I get slightly different results between the two. But I'm going to actually get to that in the second hour, but we're already, closing down at the first hour here. By the way, the current bot got long there at 55 quarter.
All right.
But we'll see. Anyways, I'll show those orders real quick here. So it's telling me a strategy filled order I'm buying. It tells me my price. It tells me which workspace and what chart I'm on and what the signal was. Sometimes you name the signals. In this case, there's no name in it, so it just says buy. It'll say sell short if it doesn't. And it tells me, which account number and what the order number was and all that. But I got long there.
Okay.
All right. So here we are. We're looking at the open on the yesterday, the 16th, and you're seeing here it got the first trade in, and it has a name. It's back testing shave long entry, so I know it's back tested. If this was real time, it would just say shave. But the back testing I had to build into the code, right? And then here it got its profit target. And because it's a shave strategy, it never got a little drop, so it didn't get a chance, even though it weighted the 10 bars. It never got a chance to buy until that dropped there. You see it?
Yep.
All right, so then his profit target again. Now, in real life, you'd have been better off just keeping that first position and getting out up here. But who knows that,
Yeah.
But once again, you don't have to monitor this thing. It'll work for you, right?
Yeah, no. It's
Now, here's one where... and I have this turned on where I can take a secondary position. So it got long here. And you can see how this yellow line has dropped down. That's the total equity. The green histogram is the closed equity. So even though it was up, about $600, it started to lose some of that back. That's why the green line dropped. And we see that in the chart. Then it got to here, and it bought. And see how it made that extra money while the first trade was still working?
Yep.
Now, obviously, if you're going to add, you got to be convinced this thing's going up.
Yeah.
But that used up one of the trades too.
Do you analyze the market, or do you let the bot just trade any market conditions? But do you have a certain like if you say, all right, market's pulled back, we should get a bounce. Today we've had 8 down days, we're pulling back to a moving average. Do you ever devise a strategy just for upward bias or downward bias markets?
Well, I think the key there, and this is actually an interesting concept, like on that Stericycle, remember I said once your primary's gotten you long, you can't get short? You can only add to it?
Yep.
Remember that, John?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's say the first bot is theoretically in a position long. You can actually trade real dollars on the added position and just trade that.
Okay. What time is it? All right, so this is good.
All right, so just to show you, I'll go ahead and we'll do a short just to do it real quick. I'm going to turn that one off. I'm going to go to this one. Now, for me as a coder, this is just this is nirvana. This is really making the thing work the way I want it to work. Now, it may not excite people that don't do it, but I think it's great. That's just me. All right, so I'm going to show you the shorts here. Okay, there it is. So here's a day that Apple gapped up.
Yep.
And see how it got in on the second bar, because the first bar had a complete. Got its profit target. Now it waited. See how beautifully waiting worked?
Yeah.
Brought you to short way up here. Got its profit target. Waited again.
Now that weight is programmed in?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the weight bars. So you can actually, that's manual input. And you can, John, then optimize it and see what worked the best.
Yeah.
I'll show you that real quick then too. And then here you can see that it added a second position, closed it, and then finally it got its other position closed. And I set it for 3. So it got this one and that one, and the weight bars is on this one, so it got an extra trade in there. So it got 4 trades. And then it's done. And it made $1,200.
Well, you can't beat that.
Yeah, Airman's asking a good question in the room, and it's important for some of the quicker trading strategies where there's a setting where you actually tell the software under Format Strategies, Properties for All, under automation, you say strategy will fill non-historic orders only when the trade manager reports them as filled. So you want to check that so that there's no sense here, because I'm not trading this in a real account, or at least this is just basically what if scenario. But you would want to check this so that the strategy would actually have to confirm that you actually filled before it considered it filled.
Gotcha.
And then on the hyper scalping ones, it becomes critically important. I'll show you that in the next segment.
Strategy alert.
All right, so by the way, that order just filled.
I heard something.
Yep. Yep. So we've closed 2 positions since we started. All right, so you like that?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. This is going along good.
I mean, I think for you, John, this would be ideal because you got so much going on. You're doing interviews. You got people asking you questions. Some people asking the same question over and over again.
Yeah, of course.
You have issues over there. At NIAC. So my point is, this something like this. Once you get comfortable with it,
Strategy alert.
You could put the trades down to 1.
Yep.
And then allow it to just run itself.
I'm comfortable now. I'm waiting for it. I want to put this thing live overnight, and let's put it up there and we'll put your.
All right. You are banned from any automatic trading for at least 2 weeks of watching it work and getting familiar with it.
All right. Of course, I want to do that first, but I want to get it set up. I want to put the final touches on this.
Well, what I'm trying to do is introduce to you and to the viewers that there's so much you can do with this. It's not just the results. If you just tuned in to say, well, how much can I make, you're taking the wrong approach. You really want to learn how they operate. I mean, a golden rule for me is I don't run a strategy unless I understand how it operates. What's the math behind it? What are all the settings supposed to be? Because when things go wrong, and they will, you need a power outage. I mean, this strategy right here, John.
Yeah.
If you as much as refresh the data on the chart, it will totally forget what it did and start all over.
Oh boy.
So if you told it to buy Baidu, which is a big stock, and you got a lot of your buying power tied up, and then there's a power outage, you got to refresh your chart, whatever, it'll totally forget what it did and go long again. So now you'll have 2 positions when you only intended to have 1.
Gotcha.
So that's why I say you definitely have to understand the code
absolutely.
to run it.
I mean, all joking aside, I would absolutely want to know, but we have to start with step 1. There's so many different things I do, manually that I would love to be, attempt to code in and see how it works out. It's just, I can't wait to take this to the next level.
Well, I actually wrote this in 2008, and I kind of forgot about it actually, and I just sort of, getting ready for the show, I remembered I'd written something like that, and then I pulled it down and started to play with it, and it was cool. It has that ability to
position closed.
Ooh, that was multi-charge. Just closed the position.
Yeah, I want to
stop. It should, your ES 15 minutes should have trailed out. If you're running the same strategy I set you up with.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's the same one, I just actually I was setting up. I have my other account up on that.
All right.
But I just turned it off. Well, let me see here. Yeah, it's closed out. Oh no, wait, that's my new account. All right. Sorry. Let me bring up the other account. 2 van cars. It says I'm still +2 positions. Let's see what we have here. Van car.
Well, the viewers can't see. I'll tell you what, John. We're exactly an hour in here.
Yeah.
Why don't I just stop this and save this? Make sure this file gets saved, just in case we don't have a disaster.
Okay.
And we'll take a 3-minute intermission, and then we'll come back and I'll get you into some of the newer, shorter term strategies that I'm sure you want to see how that operates.
Excellent. All right. Good. I'm going to get a bathroom break myself.
All right. So I'll see you. Well, I'll tell you what. 35 will go back live.
35. 4 minutes.
All right. Everybody have fun. You're gonna be broadcasting for a minute.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm not going
music, whatever. All right.
Yep. Put a little music on right now. And we have gas. Thanks. We have gas here.